Okay, we're back. It's COMP1002, and it's week 6, lesson 6, part 1. So this week we're going to kind of get into our CSS for the first time, and I put a couple of PowerPoints that I'm going to be following more or less on up on Blackboard for you. Just to mention a couple things administratively again today. Next week we're holding our exam. It'll be a 2-part exam, right? Just because next week is week 7, right? So it's kind of midterm. The exam will basically feature a 30 to 60 question multiple choice, blah, 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 whatever it's going to be, just like we did last time, based on the subject matter we've been talking about since the last test. All right, so I'm not going to include stuff from the first test again. It won't happen. I won't do that. So we've already talked to you guys about that first section. So you'll be we'll be talking about everything after week 4, if I'm not wrong, right? So 4, 5, 6, those 3 weeks. Okay, so I'm kind of chunking it down a little bit so that it's not so bad from a multiple choice perspective. Okay, that's part 1. Part 2 of the exam, you'll be asked to build something, right? Like an actual website. Now, from a hosting perspective, right? This exam, I'm not going to push you to host on Azure or anywhere else. It's okay if you just give me the files and like upload them to Blackboard for this one. And the reason for that is just from a time perspective. And if you guys aren't set up, and I know some people are still not quite ready with Azure because of signing up and registering and all that kind of stuff, right? And the great thing about getting you guys rolling now is for next semester or whenever the next time you guys do anything with the web, you're good to go. You're set up, right? So we don't have to go through all this procedure again. Because it does take a bit of time to get going. But guaranteed for, like, as we go through tests, one after the other, as we get going, we'll be asked, and for every assignment, you'll be asked to put stuff live, right, from now on, right? So you need to get up with something, whether it's Azure, whether it's GitHub pages, whether it's Heroku, whether it's DigitalOcean. There's a bunch of other providers out there that'll give you, like, kind of, you know, some kind of hosting space for free. And you know, you don't have to spend anything really to do it, right? So I'd invite you to look at those things because I think it's important for you to have some place to store your stuff. The advantage of using something like Azure, and I'm just going to go in there. I'm going to go into the old portal for a second. So we'll show you that one. This is the old portal. Let's see if I can actually get in there with the right account. That's not the right account. Because I've got a bunch of them. Let's just sign up. And I'll sign in with my other one. There we go. So the advantage to using something like Azure is you have a chance you know, to understand things about virtual machines. And again, unfortunately, for you guys, if I can actually put my email in properly, my password. One day, there we go. So when you go into create a website and so on, what the advantage is that you've been playing with, you know, on the host side, things like where to host your stuff, you know, that kind of thing, how to host your stuff. It's not just about making websites nowadays, right? Making websites and CSS, you know, kind of styling your website. I mean, it's important and all, but it's only one piece, right, to the whole puzzle. The main thing is for you to understand all the technology pieces because they're kind of there's kind of a multiple, you know, kind of piece solution to this whole thing, right? So if you're doing web design and you're an indie developer or something like that, it's not enough for you just to know web technology. So as an example. One of the things we can do with Azure, and again, you may not be able to do this because of your access right now, is create virtual machines. So, so let's say I want to do this. I'm going to show you something really quickly, and that's why I recommend it. So if I go to virtual machines, and I'm going to create them from a gallery, just to show you the gallery that you get, right? I can create all kinds of virtual machines. Like for example, if I want to make a Ubuntu server, I can create a Ubuntu server. As an example, to serve something like Node.js or PHP or something else, right? So I can create a server, a box, almost a virtual machine, a server, that I can get into, configure, and all that kind of stuff to serve content to my clients, right? Virtual machines is the more expensive thing you can do. Web apps are the cheapest, things you can do on Azure. Virtual machines cost a little bit of money because they actually set aside hardware space for your application, right? But you have to see that as we move forward, cloud computing, like the stuff that we're doing now, whether you're using Azure or Google Platform or Amazon Web Services, DigitalOcean, and others, it's quickly becoming like the mode, if you will, right? And some people, what they do is they use kind of something called a hybrid cloud, where they have kind of a private server that they have access to, and they have that private server for their own infrastructure because they don't, and data. They don't want to share their data on the cloud, but they have a front end hook, if you will, or some kind of endpoint that you can access on the front end, and they use some kind of cloud computing to make sure that you have enough instances. And this is the thing you can do with cloud computing, where you can almost like duplicate your machine across the world, right? So you can have access and provide a better or reduced latency times if you have multiple access points everywhere else. For example, if I have, like we said before, if I have people that live in Asia somewhere or in other parts of the world in Europe, and I want them to have access to my website or app or whatever, I may create another instance of my app on a data server somewhere there. Okay, so that's the thing that allows that we can do with Azure. So web programming, which would be COMP1002, which is maybe a couple semesters out from now, right? You're going to be asked to do more Azure stuff again, and there'll be, every time you do web stuff, probably from now on, you'll be asked to host it somewhere, right? And it's much better than hosting it in a small server like a school server, right? Because it's not realistic. School server, it gives you the ability to put stuff up, you can see things live, but the great thing about doing something with Azure is it's more realistic in terms of being closer to the real world, quote unquote. So that's my thing.